To the left, we have the LG C5. To the right, we have the LG C1. And immediately, a lot of people are going to ask this question, what's different between the two of these displays? Now, at first glance, some things will appear similar, but the differences will start to reveal themselves instantly. So the C5, for example, is just brighter. You can't get around that. Not way brighter, but definitely significantly brighter. The other thing is it has more contrast in the LG C1 and a lot of examples, and you're going to see that as a reoccurring theme. Color is vastly improved to where you have more nuance and is closer to QD OLED. You're seeing it against the C1, and this should be your undeniable proof. Now, something that I also want to show you, because this is crazy. You see that skin tonality versus this? I love doing this because this will show you like legitimately. Because again, we all have questions about certain things and the authenticity of what we are seeing at times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the colorimetry. 111311, right? And we open up the colorimetry and you see that this is on auto, okay? The same as this TV, okay? So we're gonna go up here and we're gonna go 111311 and take this one to the same level if I can. 111311, and it's not working. So I have to find another way to do that. So let's go here. I want to try to open up the button here. You know what? I'm not even going to do that because I have a different remote. So what I'll do, I'll just use the service remote to access the colorimetry then. Since I am unsuccessful with the regular remote since the other TV is on, understandable. So let's go here and type in 111311. And there we go. So now we can see where we're at. Okay, I really wanted to point this out because the default here is colorimetry Rec 709, okay? And because the colorimetry is Rec 709, it's higher than 601. I use 601 intentionally lowering the color space to be able to maximize the percentage of that color space, because when you have more maximization, you can do a little bit more sometimes, as you can clearly see with my settings. So my settings are based off of BT601. Very different kind of calibration, where this is at 709. So even with a wider color space in operation right now on this display, this still has significantly better color. Just wanted you to see that. And these are with my settings, because again, I can go through the default picture presets and show you like the C1 would do way worse. So we're not giving LG any kind of extra anything, you know what I mean? So this is what it looked like before. It looked like shit, you know what I'm saying? So again, trying to improve the LG beyond the default, we managed to do that, as you can clearly see, but it's dated now. And you're clearly seeing why I had such a level of enthusiasm in my last video, where I'm telling you the LG C5 is that shit. It is absolutely amazing, because here it goes up against the 2021 LG C1, and you are seeing some miraculous stuff, okay? So what we're looking at is an improvement in color and brightness all around, to the point where it feels like I'm watching a quantum dot OLED. And it always feels good to show you comparatively to the things I'm talking about specifically, so I don't sound like a madman. Look at the increased luminosity, the color throw, the warmth, versus that where it's really blue. Skin tones have been visibly improved over the LG C1. So for my guys who've been waiting year after year for some improvement, you now have it. Before, the white subpixel would start making skin tones look a little palish and wash out general colors, even at low intensities, where they found a way again to draw that back in. And look at that beautiful color. I mean, this color is to die for, and it literally feels like a day and night example of just how different and how much more warmth we're now getting out of LG, despite being WOLED, where this white subpixel makes everything blue. You lose all of the warmth you're supposed to have. It's just inferior at this point. So even LG from the past finally has been substantially defeated and beaten. I mean, look at this example. It's dramatic. The amount of contrast, depth, clarity, color control, all of it is absolutely extraordinary and exceptional. Look at the skin tonality in this example. I'll go ahead and raise my camera sensitivity to light, known as ISO, and you can kind of see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Notice how, again, the LG C5 is just doing such a superior job rendering color tonality, again, in the scar, everything, where the C1, again, by comparison, is just a bit too blue. Again, it's not an unwatchable picture. I love the C1. I think it's a great picture, but we are clearly at this point seeing where it is dated and where the C5 absolutely is the winner of this comparison. So it took 5 minutes to say that. Normally I spit it right out, but yes, the C5 absolutely bodied the LG C1. Now we're going to continue to show you examples, but I think, again, at a glance, just showing you, this is very, very clear, right? Now, again, I went ahead and put in my settings for this television, so there's no room for debate. I think many people who know what I've been doing know that for years, the LG C1 has just been my bread and butter, and I have been rocking with this for years, and it has been my benchmark to prove that LG TVs haven't been improving, but it can no longer happen like that in 2025. So we're going to go 1113111, open up that colorimetry again, and let's say we want to push it now to BT 2020. Well, we push it to BT 2020, it gets a little uptick in a small area, but again, at face value, even listen to this, okay? Listen to this. Even at face value, the BT 601 is still better than BT 2020 on the LG C1. And I need you to see this because this is the most powerful example to how rich, pure, and accurate the color on the LG C5 truly is. I don't glow about TVs or get happy about TVs for no reason. And there's a reason, because this is BT 2020, something I have been like, yeah, this makes LG look better. I don't even need it. I'm at 601 and look how much more superior it is than my C1. My C1 is like absolutely like choked out right now. It can't even hold its own. It can't even find its footing. It's getting beaten in all of these examples so badly that to call this a comparison is honestly cruel, because it's honestly just a strong picking on the weak at this point. Like, it's literally watching a rabbit get attacked by a lion. Like, it's not a fair fight from the beginning. And I just see where LG is just absolutely doing so much more for color. And again, the new model. Now, keep in mind, this is on BT 601. I can put the color up to BT 2020, but I haven't optimized it yet, so I'm not going to do that. But I think many people can imagine, if I were to make some sort of BT 2020 calibration, just how much higher the potential of this TV would climb. I think we're starting to understand that I am doing this review based off of the BT 601, not even Rec 709 color space, to prove a point. The color is so refined and so amazing and so enhanced, you don't need to use the higher color gamuts. Normally you would need to, like on this TV, you would need to. Now let's open up our LG C1, because this for years has been my champion and my reference. So if we go 1113111 and we turn off BT 2020 and we put it back to even auto color, okay, this is what it looks like. There is no avenue where you are going to beat the LG C5 with a C1 ever. Not at all. It just will not happen. It's too blue. And we are now starting to see with an LG TV that, yeah, LG back then was too blue and their reds were very weak. As you can clearly see, the weak reds, the intense popping red. These differences are going to continue across this entire comparison, but at least I wanted to set the stage with this. Now, there can be no doubt that I've taken a liking to this Sony demo, and you can see why. Look at how blue the LG C1 to the right looks comparatively to the LG C5. I mean, it's a day and night difference. It really, truly is. There's a lot of blue. Now, again, you're not going to see the blood orange red that I'm talking about to the extent, but take the dark, rich reds as just an indication that there is a difference, especially with these candles. It's almost incredible. It's like watching a Quantum.TV go up against a typical OLED from LG. LG's reds have improved so miraculously, I'm literally blown back. It doesn't even look like the same company. Like, this is how improved their reds are. I knew there was an improvement instantly from doing this for years. Well, now you're seeing it. Look at the skin tones. Look at the colors. Everything has received a massive uptick. Again, this is BT 601 going up against, again, my settings. Whether you use BT 2020, whether you use, DCI-P3 or whatever you want, there isn't a color space that could compete with the lowest color space in the LG C5 on the C1. Let that hit you. Let it resonate with you, because that's your reality. Nothing you could do would beat a C5 on a C1. Literally nothing. It's like they wanted to really make it so that it was very clear that there was a difference between them. And I see it, and I'm so proud of them for finally showing the fuck up. Because for years, LG has just kind of been the laziest brand, just rebranding and making the same TV year after year. They didn't do that this year, guys. And I'm clearly seeing quantum dot level picture quality 100%. versus what the C1 is giving you, which is that OLED look of the diluted reds and the blood orange kind of color, where this is rich, pure red coming off of the C5 beyond what we have on LG C1. Take this example. Now you're really going to start to see how different these images are. Because now we're looking at a YouTube video and it doesn't lie. Look at the color, clarity, and purity, quantum dot level for sure, that the LG C5 was able to produce. Again, more vibrant color on a massive, massive scale, as we are clearly seeing in this example. It's not to say that the LG C1 is a bad TV now. It's to say that the LG C1 just can't keep up with all the picture processing and capabilities that the C5 clearly, with its new refinements, is doing. Again, these are the kind of reviews that I think really matter, because you're going to see generationally there is a big difference now. Where before it was just, more of the same, now I can see LG's worth and their value again, and finally can tell you there is an LG out there totally worth your time, completely capable of competing with quantum dots at the highest level. You saw it against the S95F. Now you're seeing against a C series from a few years ago. Some might have this TV still, the LG C1, and look at the color quality that the LG C5 has. The contrast alone, way more three-dimensional, way more immersive. The depth is really upticked significantly to the point where the LG C1 just feels like an okay TV now. And that's insane that we are actually having this conversation where the LG C1 could be seen as okay and not exceptional. But you really do start to see how ugly that white subpixel makes skin tones, and how pale and ghost-like everything looks, and how literally more orange than red the reds really do look on the C1 versus just the beautiful, clear, ruby-esque kind of color that you get on the LG C5. And this is just one of the examples, one of the many examples where LG with the C1 is just doing a bit better. Again, the C1 still looks amazing. I still look at it and enjoy the picture. I'm not saying that I'm not, but what I am saying is that there's a big difference. And again, remember, we are in BT601, the lowest color space that a television could offer you, and it looks this good, and it's beating everything that the C1 has to offer. And to prove that again, we're going to go back into BT 2020 by going 1113111 in the HDMI signaling override menu, and we're going to put it back to BT 2020, and you're going to see even in BT 2020 it's not doing anything but making the color more exaggerated comparatively rather than just pure rich color, as you clearly see. So this is clearly not the answer for this particular setup. Especially there are some things you are just not going to be able to get around, again, when you talk about these comparisons. So keep that in mind when you're talking about these TVs, because again, I'm going to put it back to auto, which is the Rec 709. Even if you wanted to put it at 601, by the way, and you wanted to like for like it, you cannot, because there in 2021 was no difference between BT 601 and BT 709. There was visibly not much of a real difference. A slight hair here and there, but nothing substantial to the point where you would be like, oh my gosh, I have to use this. So I really want to drive that home for you guys. Like, this advancement is due to real effort and real attention being put into the LG C5. Now, again, the LG C5 nor the C1 comes like this. The LG C5 by default could never beat my C1 settings. So if you don't want to buy an LG C5 and join the membership and grab my settings, this is what your picture is going to look like. We're going to show you using everyone that's in the business's favorite mode, Filmmaker mode. They all tell you to do this to your picture. I see a ton of macro blocking. I see that parrot looking very washed out. And now we're able to see what's been happening for years. How the LG C1 just starts to body it almost pretty immediately, I'd like to think. Richer color expression. I mean, now the LG is so insignificant to the left with the LG C5 that to call this a comparison would be kind of rude to the LG C1 with what the C1 is starting to offer. And that's just at face value. I mean, look, we're looking at it, we're seeing it, it's very clear. It's very green, very ugly, right? Well, let's go back and see then what my settings look like. So we now know that what I'm saying is based off of my settings. Default's not going to give that to you. No YouTuber other than me is going to be able to have these kinds of comparisons. And when you put the information back in, you're going to start to see those differences. Again, you're going to see a lot of color shift between these examples, especially. Don't take that at face value because, again, The tinting is something that is a little hard to master, but look at the colors. Primary colors will tell you the full story most of the time, like the greens especially, and the blues. And you're looking at it here, and look at that field, and look at the contrast of the red and everything, and look at the facial details. You're clearly seeing that the LG C5 is just more natural, pulls ahead in a more meaningful way, and is giving you a picture actually worth a damn. And it's doing it in the lowest color coverage space there is in the LG C5. This isn't Rec 709, this isn't DCI-P3, this isn't BT 2020, this isn't Adobe RGB, this is BT 601. And you're clearly seeing the advantage of using it. And I gotta say, it's very impressive to see what LG has been able to pull off. The colors just shine in a way where, like, yeah, if I were literally looking at this, I would be feeling a type of way too if I expected my C1 to keep winning. Again, not to say that C1 doesn't have good colors. It totally does have good colors. But again, we are starting to see that gap form in the sand and the bridge kind of widen, as they say, as we look at what the new TVs are capable of doing. And as far as a motion perspective, the LG C1 is definitely going to be smoother. For sure, it's got more of a smoothness, but the LG C5 is more responsive, if that makes sense. So like the pixels refresh a lot faster, and that enhances the motion and makes it feel more 3D because the motion resolution is a lot more three-dimensional. This means the LG C5 actually has better motion than the LG C1 while not being as traditionally smooth as the LG C1. It actually has this beautiful, like, hyper-realistic look that just is to die for. Like, when you see this TV, especially with my settings, you are going to understand why I am speaking so very passionately about what LG has been able to accomplish. Because this has not been accomplished for years, and at this point, it kind of has my hopes up that maybe Tandem OLED might be able to do something better. Because at this point, it's not about the technology, it's about LG's approach to even the old technology. They're finding ways to refine it versus just refresh it and sell it at a new premium. There's actually a reason to pay more than a C1 now for the C5 because it's clearly better. And when I look at every example and how vibrant and how rich, I mean, this is definitely quantum dot level color. I mean, the color I was fawning over when I had my C1, you know, making cutie OLED type settings on it. I mean, I was always after this level of color, this kind of experience, and to be at this level now for like the immersion alone is just huge. Again, the only real thing that I want is more brightness. And I, again, feel like that's maybe where Tandem OLED might come in with the G5 and maybe actually prove me wrong, which I am always welcome for a company to be able to do as far as it just being a run of the mill. The truth is, a lot of the other YouTubers don't possess my skill set, so they had no idea that this was even possible, which is why I'm the only one telling you that there's such a revolution between these two TVs and that I'm able to see it immediately. Because again, if you're just taking TVs out of the box, you will never see where they really improved it. You have to get in there, calibrate, and use these settings to see what changed. That's why I really come down on YouTubers like Tech with KG, Stop the FOMO, Brian's Tech Therapy, Be the Installer. They're giving opinions and they're reviewing the product based off of their experience and opinion. And that's valuable for some who just want an uneducated opinion, but that's what it is, an uneducated opinion. Because when you do an educated opinion based off of actual research from where you were to where we are now, there can be no doubt that there is a clear and marked improvement on the LG C5 to a significant degree, despite having similar, you know, specs on paper. And I would say this is where you can pull in a phrase saying that, hey, don't judge a book by its cover, because even though you might read some pages and see some numbers, it's not telling the full story. I can confidently say that it is not telling the full story. And now we finally are starting to see LGs with real skin tones that gives Sony a run for their money, I dare say, because these are like really good skin tones versus how blue and washed. And just let me say this, okay? For years I've been saying LG has really blue washed out imagery. Look at it with my calibration to the right. You guys know how crazy I went on calibrations. And look at my calibration to the left on the C5. And you see how blue that skin tone clearly is right in there. It's clear as day. And I say this because I want you guys to see the next level and what actually is possible out of your displays. Now, I'm going to do something that's relatively taboo because I don't know how the camera is going to perceive this. So I'm going to switch picture profiles, and this is going to be the first video I've ever done this, where I'm going to have a mismatched video profile just to see if I can't show you a different representation of the same thing. So we're going to pause right about here, okay? And I want you to remember what the representation looks like in this particular profile, and now we're going to switch it over to a different one. Okay, so now we're back in this picture profile, brand new one, and we're going to go ahead and hit play, and hopefully you are able to see the differences that I'm telling you. Maybe you won't. Brightness is a bit too high though. I see some clipping, so I'm going to lower that down. Now with the brightness lowered down, you should be able to see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can. If you can't, sorry. But I mean, the skin tones are vastly superior now. They don't look as dead and as washed out, and the colors are so very beautiful. Again, the C1 has a good image. I think anyone that looks at it still in 2025 will be like, wow, that's a nice image. Nice. But again, clearly dated as far as its approach to colors and contrast and things of that nature. And again, I still have clipping here, so I'm going to lower it down. Now the clipping went away. Okay, and I mean, as we were looking at this in real time, the most important thing to take away from this entire comparison is that these things, again, we'll trade back and forth as to which one will look good and which one will look bad, but ultimately you can't help but give the credit where credit is due to LG, because they have come, I think, the farthest out of any manufacturer in the last 5 years for their mid-range models. All the other companies have downgraded their mid-range model. The S90F is a downgrade version of the S90D. You look at Sony with, pick a model, the X80 series. Well, I mean, come on, that's an A95L, and it's a downgrade from the A95L. I mean, that's their flagship, but if we look at their mid-range models this year, what would you really have? Like the Bravia 7? The Bravia 7 is literally trash comparatively. I mean, let's just pause right here, okay? Look how blue the LG C1 is right now. And look to the left how beautiful the LG C5 is. This is the generational improvement between the brand new processing chipset and the brand new way of rendering and color mapping colors and the old way of doing things. And again, when I say things are too blue and no other YouTuber touches it, please look at this. You are seeing that I am the truth with this information in your real-time fashion, because there's no way to make it look more blue than it is. And again, we'll open our picture menu and we will give the grace of going into Filmmaker mode, or I think it was ISF mode, ISF bright, which by default, it still looks exactly the same. And we're gonna go ahead and play and show you, like, this is what it looks like. It doesn't look great, okay? I'll pause right here. Now, in the interest of fairness, what we're gonna do, because we like to do like for like, so I'm gonna do ISF bright mode on the LG C5 and show you that if we're being honest with ourselves, the LG C1 would absolutely bury the LG C5, right? If we're being honest. Now I'll switch it to this one because that's actually the picture profile, so I'll have to use ISF dark. So we'll do apples to apples because I saw a little bit of my settings on there, which, again, because the skin tones don't come that buttoned up. So what we're going to do is go ISF darkroom. Okay, ISF darkroom. And again, the LG C5 would get bodied by the C1 if we're just taking it out of the box for some of these examples like now, because you have really inky black and it's deep. But again, it's more in line. They're closer together. And so if you hit play, and you'll have a YouTuber like Tech with KG or Stop the FOMO or Be the Installer, take your pick, the Everyman, say, oh, look how amazing they both look. Look at the C series. It still has good contrast and deep black levels, and it looks amazing. Pause. Let's wait till we see her face. Okay, pause right there. It looks amazing. Look at the contrast on the LG C1. It's just way ahead of anything the LG C5 is doing. It's over brightening. It's a little more flat by comparison to the C1 that has more dimensionality. Yes, sir. That is absolutely the case out of the box. My message is to stop taking these TVs out of the box and pretending like that is a final verdict, because it's not a final verdict. And here's your undeniable proof. Here are my calibration settings from where we just were, which was the industry default. Ready? Bam. There you go. And now look at your colors, look at your contrast, and now let's just play that same game. And LG obviously gets his ass handed to it. I mean, absolutely handed to it on the C1 side of things, and you're clearly seeing it. I mean, it couldn't be more clear. You couldn't be looking at a more clear. I mean, look at the domination. Look at how disgusting the skin tones are out of the box. This is why I tell you, you got to be careful where you get your information, because some of these cats do not know what they are talking about at all. With my settings, this is what it looks like. Skin tones improve substantially. She's not as green anymore. You know what I mean? We're getting to a better spot, albeit it's not ever going to be where we want to be. And again, when you look at this example, you can clearly see both TVs look good, but it's clear that the C5 has a little something extra under the hood that gives it the better skin tones, that give it the better color, the better richness. All in all, like for like, it is just performing way stronger on a level that is undeniable. And you are now starting to see the clear benefit. And again, you need settings to do this for you. And I'm sorry to say, I'm the only one in the industry that has these settings that is going to compare it this way. Everybody else will take it out of the box and do that shit I showed you a minute ago. If that doesn't bother you and you want to see half-truths based off of laziness, then by all means, do that. I'm not here to change your mind. But what I'm showing you is that there's more potential, I think, is the real message here for even mentioning that or calling it out. There's more potential in this TV than what anyone, until this point in time, has ever reported. And the truth is, LG showed up in a major way that I never, ever, ever thought was possible, because I just dubbed them as the laziest brand right next to everybody else, because year after year, all they did was rebrand the C series right down to making the same design year after year. Not even trying to change the stand, nothing. And this year, it's definitely different. And we're clearly seeing the enhancement in their approach. And again, you're seeing in basically all aspects of color now that, look at, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that. That's as clear an example of what I'm talking about as it is. You'd never see that. Let's just go ahead and pause that. You'd never see what I'm talking about if I didn't make these settings. So again, this has to be highlighted, because a lot of YouTubers, I won't lie to you, are going to do this trash right here. So let's go down. I'll do ISF, the ISF mode, the expert mode. Okay, it's defaulted out. We all know that. Okay, ISF dark. I'm gonna go ahead and do that here and just show you the difference. I mean, it's mind blowing. I'm not gonna lie. These kind of things are so fun for me to show you. I mean, look, you're never going to see, you see what I mean? You're never going to see the difference like this. If I were to run the comparison like this, I'd be like, hey guys, look at these differences. Look at how dark and rich the LG C1 contrast is. It's amazing. Look at all that. Look at the eyeliner, look at the lips, the geometry. It's all amazing. The C1's still pulling ahead of the LG C5. All right, case closed. Don't buy an LG C5 and buy the LG C1. 2025 just has no good TVs. That's what the narrative would have been if I would have done the everyman comparison. Like, you know what I'm saying? But when you don't do the everyman comparison and you rock with Quantum TV because you know he's the expert that's going to give you what you need, and you join and you see the difference, well, my friend, there you go. You're welcome. I just saved an entire misinformation campaign for you. Because make no mistake, it's a misinformation campaign, because look at that C series. Even with my best work, I've been at these settings for years, and even with my best work, the best the C1 could possibly hope to achieve is this. This is its max. It can't go any further than this. This is as high a picture quality as it will ever achieve, and that's way better than where it was, but it ain't that. And now we're starting to see, again, the massive difference and the improvement and the refinements that I'm going on and on about. And the reason why in my prior video I was glowing so hard. I mean, look at the color on this screen right now. That can't compete at all. It's just all of it's way too blue. Like the whole picture is just way too blue. And this is, again, the main talking point that I've had for the better part of, 6-7 years. I mean, the LG C series back in 2016, 2017. Right? I've been telling everybody for the longest time these LGs just come way too blue and that white subpixel is a problem. They fixed the white subpixel problem. We can almost remove that as a conversational piece as to it destroying color quality. And to be able to say that, I think, is the most wonderful thing for a lot of people who have been holding off against LG OLEDs. Like, I want this TV, but I don't know that the quality is going to be there. And I'm not going to spend that kind of money and wind up at a disadvantage financially. Well, now you no longer have to wind up at a disadvantage, because you're seeing scene after scene after scene. Look with your eyes and see what I'm seeing. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And as I look at it, it's even better in person. I'm telling you, like, the level of depth on the C5 right now, I can't believe that this is even a C series. Like, this is unreal. Like, I'm almost like a kid in a candy store that has an unlimited platinum card and I can do whatever I want and I could buy whatever I want. That's the level of elation I get when I look at the C5 right now and just how beautiful. I mean, I really want to dub this the non-quantum dot, quantum dot TV, because it literally is a fucking QLED. Like, it's a QD OLED. You won't find a single QLED that'd be able to beat this probably. Like, that's where I stand with how strong and rich and accurate the colors are. I mean, for accuracy, forget about it. There's nobody this year that's touching them that I've seen. Like, nobody at all. With the level of like attention to detail behind making sure we have those nuanced differences in the Lamborghini yellow. I mean, the nuance and the differences between skin tonalities and the amount of depth that we are getting off of the screen is humongous. And again, if we're wanting to know from a clarity perspective, the clarity perspective surprisingly is identical. So I don't really notice a whole lot more clarity on the C1 or the C5. They're about identical. They really are. I mean, there's maybe, like, and I'm not joking, like a hair of clarity that could in some scenes take advantage on the C1 a little bit better. But then in the next scene would like literally immediately shift over to the LG C5. And when we look at that and we are seeing that, it's just clear, man. It's just clear that you can't really judge a book by its cover, as I've been saying. And again, you look at the blues now in this example and how the hues are just wrapping around the scene, the warmth on the ground in this example on the C5 to the left. My eye won't even look at my C1 right now. And for those of you who know what I've done on this channel and how long I've been doing it for, you know that the C1 has been the poster child, like, for LG for years. And for it to finally get dethroned is a big deal, way bigger than I think anyone's going to be able to tell you, because as I'm looking at it, I'm looking at a TV that I still think is a great TV, but I have to taste a new reality that it just got so much better. So this is a true successor to the LG C1 in every which way imaginable that you could have ever dreamed. All the things that I've ever complained about the C1 are no longer an issue on the LG C5. You're having color and brightness and highlight advantages that you just don't have on the C1. And it's like, even though it's not the brightest TV, with the brightness they had, they put it in all of the right spots. Balancing out your shadows and your highlights was the focus of the C5. This is truly the most balanced TV I think I've ever seen, from a balancing perspective of saying, hey, we're going to take the bright and the dark and come together and give you something worth your time. This TV is doing all of that. And I think, again, regardless of what size you get, you are going to be over the moon happy with this. To put it in perspective, the level of enthusiasm I feel for this TV is on par to the very first time I first saw the Samsung S95B. It's not quite S95B level in my opinion. Again, I have not compared them side by side because I no longer have one, but the level or the feeling that it invokes is definitely that of that initial period of, hey, I'm starting to feel a lot more impact from the picture than ever before on any LG. And I've seen the G1 all the way up to the G4 and, you know, C series all the way up to Wazoo. This is the best. I mean, this is going to be a long ass video showing you it's the best because I want to get more examples and as many examples as I can to prove to you and show to you without any argument, any leg for comparison to try to discredit or say anything other than the LG C5 is that TV. Put respect on LG's name this year. And just seeing this, honestly, I'm honestly just gonna take the L for myself. Seeing this, because if I could do this with the C1, there's no way that I can't do this with the C5 or the G5. I really believe I could do a lot with the G5 as well. So I'm just gonna like prematurely, I have no idea if it's actually accurate or not because different panels, technology can do different things, but I'm just gonna go ahead and take an L and say, you know what, I was wrong about LG. I really was, because you know what? This TV is showing up. It's doing all the right things. And at the very least, I can admit I was wrong about the C5 just being a copy and paste like I was used to every single year. And that's also the gift and the curse with this job. You do it so many years, you get into these patterns of what companies have done, and then an anomaly happens. A nominal year like this happens where they actually put forth true effort and you see a massive improvement over what was once a benchmark. And I think for every reviewer to miss this truly is tragic, because it's going to screw a lot of people over that don't find my channel, that don't know that this is actually what it looks like. And it's clear as day. Look at that. Look at the color. Look at the reds. I'm looking at the reds. Red this year is the biggest improvement. I'm thinking, look at the contrast in this example. Holy shit, right? Look at that color. I mean, it is the biggest improvement LG has ever made year to year, ever. And for this not to be like breaking news and a massive achievement, the way this is truly a massive achievement, like these reds right now, compared to those bullshit reds right there, like it's criminal not to give LG this credit. Look at those fucking blood orange reds versus the real reds finally. They listened. They literally listened to my critiques, and they gave us quantum dot level color. And all I could say is you'd be a fool to see this TV on sale and to be in the market for a big or small size television and not pick this up. You'd be dumb, because there's no guarantee they're going to do this again next year. They could go walk it back next year and make it blood orange again. They could do whatever they want from year to year, as we've seen, because we went from the C1 where things were a little bit better, and then C2 came out and it was like kind of crappy. I mean, this takes everything that we've ever wanted out of an LG display, that all of our wish list items from picture quality perspectives, and does its best with the level of brightness that it's willing to offer you, give you something that's actually worth a damn. And I'm saying damn, it's actually worth something now. So hopefully this very long, very drawn out video that is very exhausting to shoot, record, and at this point probably edit by the time you're seeing this, I mean, it's very clear what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a monster. We're dealing with a sleeping giant, the sleeper hit of 2025 that nobody expected to happen, with contrast levels that are just beyond a dream. And honestly speaking, my only true regret at this point is that I didn't get a larger screen size, because I would probably, not even joking, I would probably just straight up replace my living room TV with the C5, because that's how good it is. And even though it's not the most expensive TV, I'm not after that. I'm after balance. And this is balanced. And I feel like if you're already at a really good level, why would you need to spend more money? Again, there's not saying that it's not going to get better. It's not saying it's not going to get better. But you're at a great level already, as you clearly see against my best. This is my best, guys. This is the best I could do for the LG C5, or C1 to the right. And the C1 cannot hang in there. It just is getting eaten alive. Look at all those colors right now on the C1 or the C5. The C1 is just falling so far behind, and I never, ever imagined it to be this bad of a beating. When I bought this television, I just knew it'd be run of the mill, and it's anything but. So hopefully this information finds you guys well. If you have questions or things that you guys want to see, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for believing in what I do and watching the #1 brand in honesty. This is why you follow this channel, folks. You learn new shit like this, because contrary to some people's beliefs, I actually do put in the tests and the effort to get you to see if we've actually seen an improvement. And without a shadow of a doubt, the answer is yes. We have arrived at quantum dot color on LG OLED in 2025. And I couldn't be more happy about it. Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Stay tuned for the next video, where we will likely be comparing the LG C1, or rather the LG C5, versus the Samsung S90D, because they're about a similar price point as well, and we want to see what the hell, you know? So until the next video, I'll see you guys later.